Hi y'all, welcome and welcome back to this video, which is an introduction to deontology. Deontology, often called duty-based ethics, is one of the central traditions of moral philosophy. It focuses not on the outcomes of actions, but on the intentions and principles guiding those actions. According to deontological ethics, to act morally is to act from duty. You should do the right or the morally correct thing because it's the right or morally correct thing to do, not because it benefits ourselves or because it benefits someone else. This approach stands in direct contrast to consequentialism, which measures morality by results. In deontology, the rightness of an action depends on the motive behind that action, and it depends on the moral law, not the consequences. The term deontology comes from the Greek word deon, meaning duty. The idea that morality should be guided by duty has ancient and religious roots, such as the Ten Commandments, which specify absolute moral laws. During the Enlightenment, when reason and universality became dominant ideals, philosophers sought a rational foundation for morality independent of divine command or emotion. Immanuel Kant, who lived from 1724 to 1804, was a Prussian philosopher who offered that very foundation. He argued that morality must be grounded in human reason. Kant's system aimed to establish moral law that would apply to all rational beings at all times, regardless of the circumstances or the outcome. In Kant's view, moral obligation arises from reason itself, not from experience or from feelings. According to Kant, the moral worth of an action depends entirely on its motive or intent. So an act is only morally good if it's performed based out of duty, out of respect for the moral law. So doing the right thing for self-interest, emotion, or any kind of reward actually lacks moral worth. The only thing that's good in itself is the goodwill, the will to do what's right because it's right. Consequences can never determine morality because they're often beyond our control. What is within our control is the will and the reason guiding it. Kant distinguished between acting in accordance with duty and acting from duty. When someone acts in accordance with duty, for example, keeping a promise so they can protect their own reputation, that action might appear like it's moral, but the motive is self-serving. But when someone acts from duty, for example, keeping the promise just because it's the right thing to do, because honesty is right, because keeping your promises is right, the action then has genuine moral worth. Your motive is to do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because it's going to serve you in some way. And that distinction of acting in accordance with duty versus acting from duty is going to be an anchor to Kant's deontological reasoning. Kant also rejected the idea that morality depends on producing good outcomes, instead insisting that the moral laws must be universal and without exception. Thus, his theory contrasts sharply with consequentialism, which focuses on results. Deontological reasoning appears in daily moral life. When a person tells the truth, even when lying might help them, they're acting from duty. When we say it was the right thing to do, even if it didn't turn out well, we're expressing a deontological intuition. For Kant, such actions reflect respect for moral law and rational self-governance. Religious moral codes often exemplify this structure, but Kant's system is secular. His moral law arises not from divine command, but from reason itself. So every rational being has the capacity and the duty to recognize and follow this moral law. There are many advantages and attractions to Kantian ethics. One is that it emphasizes integrity and moral intention. So those intentions that we have, the motives that we have in taking an action, that's something that we can control. Next, it's a consistent and rational moral structure. We have a specific rule that we have to apply to every situation all the time, no matter what. And that consistency makes it a clear system to follow. It respects human dignity and autonomy, which is incredibly important, especially when we think about things like rights, fairness, and justice. And it prevents moral compromise for the sake of results. But even though there are advantages to the system, there are also going to be objections and challenges, just like with every other moral theory. Kantian ethics and other deontological systems have absolute rules that can conflict with each other. The ignoring consequences and results is sometimes something that's counterintuitive to us, and it's something that can become problematic in some instances. Also, ignoring context has some of those same problems, and we'll get to these objections and challenges later in another lesson. We'll also see that sometimes motives can be unclear in real life. So if you're attributing moral worth to somebody's motives, what if their motives aren't what we thought they were? Deontology reminds us that moral worth lies in the will to do what's right, not in achieving desired outcomes. Kant's theory redefines ethics as a matter of rational duty and universal law. In an upcoming lesson, we'll examine the good will and how Kant formulates this universal moral law through the principles of the categorical imperative. And some reflection questions. Why does Kant believe the rightness of an action depends on duty rather than results? How does Kant's idea of moral law differ from rules based on religion, culture, or outcomes? What does acting from duty mean to you personally? All right, y'all, that's all for now. If you're interested in more videos about philosophy and ethics, take a look at the videos posted on our channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.